Dear students, welcome to Tungal online classes. In previous class, we have discussed the average power associated with different AC circuits. Yes, today we shall continue with the working principle of the transformers and we shall solve some numerical problems on alternating current. Yes, transformer is a device that is used to vary the value of alternating voltage. Yes, so if you wish to vary the value of alternating voltage, we use the device called transformer. Yes, and in the advantages of AC over DC, we have seen the electrical energy can be transmitted over large distance without having significant losses, that is by the help of transformers. Okay, how the voltage can be increased or how it can be decreased, that principle we shall discuss. Yes, the transformer works on the principle of mutual induction. Yes, it works on the principle of mutual induction. Yes, basically the transformer consists of two insulated coils P1, P2 and S1, S2. This is primary coil and this is a secondary coil. Yes, so these two coils are wound over two different limbs of same iron core. We are considering a laminated soft iron core. On the two different limbs of these iron core, we are winding the primary and secondary coils. Okay, there is insulation between these coils as well as the iron core. Okay, so and we know how mutual induction happens here. So whatever voltage we want to change, we want to vary, that source of voltage is connected to the primary coil. Yes, so here primary coil P1, P2 is connected to the alternating source of voltage, whose voltage is given by E is equal to E0 sin omega t. Okay, this is the supply voltage. Yes, then we are considering this coil to be pure inductor coil. So the power dissipation in this inductor coil is assumed to be 0. Whatever power is given, complete power is utilized in the inductor here. Yes, then whenever the circuit is closed, the current flows through the coil here. When the current magnitude continuously changes and direction also changes, there is a magnetic flux produced in this coil. Yes, and that magnetic flux is also continuously changing because of the change in input current. Okay, so this magnetic flux that is also linked with the soft iron core, and the same magnetic flux is also linked with the secondary coil. Yes, and we are assuming this coil is pure inductor, hence there is no loss of the power. Okay, then whenever the current flows through the circuit, whenever the alternating current flows through the circuit, since the magnitude and direction of the input current is continuously changing, a changing magnetic flux is induced in this primary coil. Yes, and whatever magnitude of the flux is induced, same magnetic flux is also linked with the secondary coil because of this soft iron core. The soft iron core is coupling the primary and secondary coil. So we are neglecting the flux leakages. So whatever magnetic flux is induced in the primary coil, same magnetic flux is also linked with the secondary coil S1, S2. Okay, and this magnetic flux in the secondary coil S1, S2, that is also continuously changing. Okay, and we know whenever there is a change in the magnetic flux, there is an EMF induced. Yes, so here actually the current is changing in the primary coil, which is inducing the changing magnetic flux in the secondary coil, which produces the EMF in the secondary coil here. So there is an EMF induced in the secondary coil due to change in the current and magnetic flux in the primary coil. That is the principle of mutual induction. Yes, so and EMF is induced in the secondary coil due to changing magnetic flux. Yes, and we are neglecting the losses here, so that the primary EMF induced, that is equal to the EMF induced in the secondary coil. Yes, and by Faraday's law, the EMF induced in the primary coil, that is given by EP is equal to minus of NP into d phi divided by dt. Yes, here Np is the number of turns in the primary coil and d phi by dt is the rate of change of magnetic flux linked in this primary coil. Yes, and similarly the EMF induced in the secondary coil, that is given by minus of Ns into d phi divided by dt. Okay, since the flux leakages are neglected, there is same rate of change of magnetic flux in primary as well as a secondary coil. Yes, and by dividing equation 2 by 1, let this be equation number 2, let this be equation number 1, dividing equation 2 by 1, I can write Es divided by Ep, Es by Ep is equal to what? Minus Ns into d phi by dt divided by minus of Np into d phi divided by dt. So, I will remain with Es divided by Ep, that is equal to Ns divided by Np. Yes, this ratio of the output EMF and input EMF, or the ratio of the number of turns in the secondary coil and the number of turns in the primary coil, that is equal to K. This is called transformation ratio, or it is also called turns ratio. Yes, by suitably adjusting the number of turns, either I can have K greater than 1 or I can have K less than 1. Yes, so let us see what happens when K is greater than. What is meaning of K is greater than 1? In this case, Ns will be greater than Np. The number of turns in the secondary coil is greater than number of turns in the primary coil. In that case, automatically what happens? Ep divided by Es divided by Ep is greater than 1. This implies Es is greater than Ep. Yes, the EMF induced in the secondary coil is greater than the EMF in the primary coil. Okay, so here we are getting the output voltage greater than the input voltage. So, the transformer in which the output voltage, the output EMF is greater than the input EMF, such type of transformers are called step-up transformers. Yes, they are called step-up transformer. We are increasing the value of voltage. Okay, similarly, if K is less than 1, automatically Ns must be less than Np. The number of turns in secondary coil must be less than the number of turns in the primary coil. This implies the EMF induced in the secondary coil is less than the EMF induced in the primary coil. Yes, so such type of transformers in which the output voltage is less than the input voltage, we are actually reducing the value of voltage. Yes, so such type of transformers are called step down transformers. They are called step down transformers. Yes, this is how the voltage is increased or decreased. But by the law of conservation of energy, simply we cannot increase or decrease the value of voltage. For that, we consider the condition that the input power must be equal to output power. Okay, so the input power is given by EMF in the input coil here into current flowing in the input power, that must be equal to the output power, that is the product of EMF in the secondary coil and current flowing in the secondary coil. Okay, so when the secondary coil EMF increases, to maintain this value of power constant, the current proportionally decreases. Yes, so by that the input power must be equal to the output power. So if I take the ratio again, Es divided by Ep is equal to what? Ip divided by Is. Okay, so this is again equal to Ns divided by Np. Yes, this is the ratio of EMF, current and the number of turns. Usually the EMF is inversely proportional to the current. If output EMF is increased, definitely the output current must be decreased. Yes, to maintain the constant power, input power must be equal to output power. Based on this, the values of voltage and current proportionally change. Yes, this is how the transformer works to increase or decrease the value of input voltage. Okay, next we shall understand how the transformers are used for long distance transmission of electrical energy, that is from power station to household applications or industrial applications. Okay. The main intention of using transformer for this transmission is to reduce the value of I square R losses or the heat losses. So, we know whenever current flows through a conductor, it is always associated with heat losses. That heat loss is given by I square R into T. Okay. So, this heat is directly proportional to square of the current flowing through the conductor and the resistance of the conductor and the time for which the current is carried in the conductor. Okay. So, to reduce the value of heat, either I have to reduce the value of current or I have to reduce the value of resistance of the conductor. Yes, the resistance of the conductor is given by R is equal to rho L divided by E. Okay. And whenever we are considering the transmission of energy from power station to long distances, yes, so in that case I cannot reduce the value of length. Length is constant. Okay. And I cannot increase the value of cross sectional area beyond certain extent for economy purposes. Okay. Then rho is constant for given material. To reduce the value of resistance, we can use the material which has a lower value of resistivity such as copper or aluminum. Okay. Then another way of reducing this heat loss is the reduction in the current flowing through the conductor. Yes, but how to reduce the value of current? To maintain, along with maintaining a constant power. Okay. So, energy has to be maintained constant, but how to reduce the value of current? So, that we shall discuss here. Okay. Let us consider the power station at which the energy is generated. So, that input voltage that I show it here. Yes. So, this input voltage is connected to the primary coil. Yes. So, this is connected to the primary coil P1, P2. Okay. So, whenever the energy is generated in the power station, so at the power station we are using the step up transformer. Okay. Why we are using step up transformer? Because we want to reduce the current. Okay. So, we know the condition that input power is equal to output power according to law of conservation of energy. Input power is equal to what? V1 I1 is equal to V2 into I2. Okay. So, here the current has to be reduced. If current has to be reduced, to maintain the same value, voltage has to be increased. Okay. So, to increase the value of the output voltage in the secondary coil here, yes, we are using a step up transformer. We have to use step up transformer at the power station. Okay. So, for step up transformer, the number of turns in the secondary coil, it has to be more than number of turns in the primary coil. Okay. So, if I write it as NS, if I write it as NP, so I have to use NS greater than NP, so which will give me the transmission ratio greater than 1, that is the transformation ratio K greater than 1. Okay. So, here if the input voltage is V1, output voltage is V2, V2 is greater than V1. When the output voltage is greater than input voltage, automatically the output current will be less than input current. Okay. So, this I2 value which is much lesser than the input current here. So, that is transmitted over the long distance. So, the heat loss will be reduced because of the lower value of the current here. Okay. Then, so whenever this energy is consumed in our household applications or the industries, wherever this energy is distributed, this reduced value of current is not sufficient and we cannot utilize such a high value of the voltage. So, whenever the energy is distributed in different applications at the distribution area, we have to reduce the value of voltage, so that proportionally the current also increases. So, to reduce the value of voltage, we have to use a step down transformer. We have to use the step down transformer here. Okay. So, for step down transformer, we use the number of turns in the primary coil more than number of turns in the secondary coil here. Okay. Okay, so we are using a step down transformer. If the number of turns in the primary coil is NP, so we will use the number of turns in the secondary coil less than that of the number of turns in the primary coil. So here, if V2 is the output voltage, V1 is input voltage, K is less than 1, hence V2 will be less than V1. V2 will be less than V1 and current will be greater than input current I1. Okay, so here we are getting the reduced value of reduced voltage we are getting. Okay, we are getting a reduced voltage and increased current. Okay, so this energy is extracted at a load. Okay, so this is how we use the transformer, that is the step up transformer at power station and step down transformer at the distribution part in the power energy transmission for long distances. Okay, whenever we are transmitting the electrical energy from power station to the long distant places, there are some losses of the energy associated with this transmission. Okay, so what are the major losses associated here? So those are called the energy losses in the transformer. The major loss is due to copper loss or the loss due to heating of the copper coils which are used in the transformer. Okay, so whenever current flows through the copper coils for more time, definitely there is some heat generated. That heat dissipated will cause the loss of energy. Okay, and this loss of energy can be reduced by using the thick wires for windings. Okay, but we cannot use the more thick wire because of economic limitations. Okay, next we have the loss due to the flux leakage, the loss due to flux leakage. So whenever we were studying the transformer here, we are assuming the magnetic flux induced in the secondary coil phi 2 is equal to phi 1. Okay, but practically there is no perfect coupling between the primary and secondary coil. Okay, there will be some leakage of the flux. So the leakage of the flux is nothing but the loss of energy. Okay, so that will result in loss of the energy. So this is also one of important reasons for the energy loss in the transmission of energy. Okay, next we have the losses due to eddy currents. The losses due to eddy currents. Yes, so when we consider the iron core here, if I take the solid iron core here, we know whenever the magnetic flux is linked with the solid metal, the whirling currents are produced. Okay, the whirling currents are produced, which results in the loss due to heat generated. Okay, so this energy loss because of these whirling currents, that is called loss because of eddy currents. Okay, so to avoid the loss because of the eddy currents, we are using the laminated iron core. Okay, we are using the laminated iron core here. Yes, so this is the loss because of eddy currents. Okay, then we have another important loss, that is because of hysteresis. Yes, so we know whenever we are transmitting the energy using transformer, there is continuous magnetization and demagnetization of primary and secondary coils. Okay, and whenever there is magnetization and demagnetization, definitely there is some loss of the energy associated during magnetizing and demagnetizing primary and secondary coils. Okay, this loss is called the hysteresis loss. Okay, this loss is called hysteresis loss, and this hysteresis loss can be reduced by using the material which is having a narrow hysteresis loop like this. Yes, the area under the hysteresis loop indicates the energy loss. Okay, so we are using the material which is having the narrow hysteresis loop. Yes, and then there is a loss because of magnetostriction. Yes, magnetostriction. Yes, that is a humming sound is produced. Yes, during the operation of this transformer, there is humming sound produced in which some energy is lost in the form of mechanical energy. Okay, these are some of major reasons for the losses in transformers. Next we shall start with the numerical problems. Before starting with the numerical problems, let us look at the formulae that are useful for solving the numerical problems. Yes, for an AC circuit, the voltage is given by V is equal to V naught sin omega t, where V naught is the peak voltage, V is the instantaneous voltage. Yes, and for resistive circuit, we have I is equal to I naught of sin omega t, where I naught is the peak value of the current and I is the instantaneous value of current. Okay, omega is the angular frequency which is given by omega is equal to 2 pi f. Yes, f is in terms of hertz. Then the average value of current is equal to 2 divided by pi times of peak value, or it is also equal to 0.637 times of maximum value of current. Similarly, the average value of voltage is equal to 0.637 times of the peak voltage V naught. Yes, and the RMS values of current and voltage are 0.707 times of the peak values of current and voltage respectively. Okay, and when I consider the pure inductor circuit, for pure inductor, the inductive reactance is XL, which is equal to omega into L, that is equal to 2 pi f into L. Okay, and for the capacitor, the capacitive reactance is equal to 1 divided by omega c, that is equal to 1 divided by 2 pi f into C. Yes, and the unit of XL and XC is the same as the unit of resistance. Okay, then for LCR circuit, the impedance, the effective resistance is given by Z is equal to square root of R square plus XL minus of XC whole square, or XC minus of XL whole square, depending on the magnitudes of XL and XC. Okay, so in this case IRMS is equal to VRMS divided by Z. Similarly, the peak value of current is equal to the peak value of voltage divided by the impedance. Yes, and the phase angle between the voltage and the current is given by the impedance triangle here. I can write from the impedance triangle tan phi is equal to the difference of XL and XC. In this case I am taking XL is greater, so I write it as XL minus XC divided by Z. Okay, or I can also use the cos function. I can write from this triangle cos phi is equal to what? That is the power factor equal to R divided by Z. Okay, and at resonance the impedance is minimum and the current is maximum. So how that is attained? For resonance, XL must be equal to XC. So at resonance XL is equal to XC, and in that case Z will be equal to R. The impedance will be equal to the resistance of a resistor. Okay, and the resonant frequency is given by FR is equal to 1 divided by 2 pi square root of LC. Okay, then we have the quality factor Q is equal to XL divided by R. This is also equal to XC divided by R, because it is defined at resonance. At resonance XL will be equal to XC. So these two terms will give the same value here. This is also obtained by this equation 1 by R square root of L divided by C. Okay, then in general the power in an AC circuit is given by P is equal to VRMS into IRMS into cos phi. Okay, this total product or this power is called true power. Okay, and this product of VRMS and IRMS is the apparent power or virtual power. Okay, then the cos phi, the power factor is defined as the ratio of true power and apparent power, or P divided by VRMS into IRMS, and by this impedance triangle I can also write the power factor is equal to R divided by Z. Okay, and just now we have discussed the working of transformer. The transformation ratio, that is ES divided by EP, is equal to NS by NP, that is equal to IP divided by IS. In this ES and EP are the output voltage and input voltage respectively. NS and NP are the number of turns in secondary and primary coil respectively. IP and IS, those are the currents in the primary and secondary coil respectively. So it is based on the principle that input power is equal to output power. Okay, if any other formulae are remaining, so that we shall see in corresponding problems. Okay, let us start with a simple numerical problem. It is given that the equation of the AC is I is equal to 20 sin 300 pi t. Yes, we are asked to calculate the frequency and the RMS value of the current. Okay, so for this let us compare the given equation with the standard form, that is I is equal to I naught of sin omega t. Okay, so the given equation is I is equal to 20 into sin of 300 pi into t. Okay, by comparing these two equations I can write I naught is equal to what? 20 amperes, that is the peak value of the current. Okay, then I can write omega is equal to 300 pi. Okay, so omega is nothing but 2 pi f. 2 pi f is equal to what? 300 pi. Pi get cancelled here. This implies 2f is equal to 300. Hence frequency is equal to what? 150 hertz. Okay, and here they are asking to find the RMS value of the current. So I have RMS is equal to what? I naught divided by square root of 2. So RMS is equal to I naught is 20 divided by square root of 2. This value I get it as 14.14 amperes. Okay, this is the RMS value of the current. Okay, look at the next problem. It is given that a light bulb is rated at 100 watt for a 220 volt supply. Yes, and we are asked to find the resistance of the bulb, the peak voltage of the source, and RMS current through the bulb. Okay, first let us write on the data here the rating of the bulb, that is a power rating P is equal to, they have given the power that is equal to 100 watt, and whatever supply voltage is there, that we have to take it as a VRMS. VRMS is equal to 220 volt. Okay, and we have to find the value of resistance R is question mark here, and the peak voltage V0 we have to find out, and the RMS value of the current flowing through the bulb we have to find out. Okay, we know the instantaneous power is given by P is equal to VRMS into IRMS. Okay, but in this case we don't know the value of IRMS, so I can write it as P is equal to VRMS into IRMS is nothing but VRMS divided by resistance R. Okay, so by this equation I can find the value of the resistance of the bulb. So R is equal to VRMS square divided by power. Okay, so that is equal to 220 into 220 divided by power is 100. So by simplifying this I get the value of resistance of the bulb. So here 0 get cancelled here. This is equal to 484 ohms. Okay, so this is the first point they have asked to find out. Okay, next, that is number 2, we have to find the peak voltage of the source. Yes, whatever voltage 220 volt is given, that is the RMS value of the voltage. So we know VRMS is equal to what? V0 divided by square root of 2. Yes, so to find the value of V0, that V0 is equal to VRMS into square root of 2. VRMS is 220 volt, 220 into 1.41. Okay, so if I calculate this, I get it as 311 volts. Okay, that is the peak value of voltage of the source. Yes, then the third point we have to find the RMS value of the current through the bulb. So for that I can take IRMS is equal to VRMS divided by resistance of the bulb. Yes, VRMS is how much? That is 220 volt divided by resistance. Yes, resistance of the bulb is 100. R we have got it as 484. So by calculating this I get it as IRMS is equal to 0.45 amperes. Okay, So this is the solution for a given problem. Okay, let us look at the next problem. It is given that a series circuit contains a resistor of 20 ohm, a capacitor and an emitter of negligible resistance. Yes, it is connected to a source of 200 volt 50 hertz, that is the frequency of the source. If emitter reading is 2.5 ampere, calculate the reactance of a capacitor. Okay, it is the circuit which is having a resistor and a capacitor. Okay, we don't have any inductor here. This is a RC circuit. Okay, emitter resistance is negligible. Okay, we have what will first let us write on the data given. The resistance of the resistor is equal to R is equal to 20 ohm. Okay, then the source voltage that we have to take it as Vrms is equal to 200 volt and the frequency is equal to how much? 50 hertz. Yes, then the current in the circuit is equal to 2.5 amperes. Yes, and we have to find the value of reactance of the capacitor. We have to find XC. Yes, we know the equation for and whatever 2.5 ampere is there, that we have to consider it as IRMS. Okay, so where do we come across XC here? That is for inductance. So inductance is general expression for inductance is what? Z is equal to root of R square plus XL minus of XC whole square. Okay, since we don't have any inductor here, we can simply write it as Z is equal to root of R square plus XC square. Yes, so but for this first we have to find the value of Z. If we find the value of Z, we know the value of R, easily we can find the value of XC. Yes, so how to get the value of Z here? We know IRMS is equal to Vrms divided by Z. So by this I can calculate the value of Z. Z is equal to Vrms divided by IRMS. Yes, let us substitute the values here. Vrms is equal to 200 divided by IRMS is equal to what? 2.5. Yes, this will give me the value of Z is equal to 80 ohms. Okay, that is the impedance of the circuit. Yes, and using this Z value I can find the value of XC. So let us substitute the value of Z here. 80 is equal to square root of R is how much? 20 square plus of XC square. Okay, let us square on both the sides. I can write 80 square is equal to 20 square plus of XC square. Okay, this I can write it as XC square is equal to 80 square is 6400 minus of 400. So that is equal to 6000. XC square is equal to 6000. Yes, and taking the square root, I get the value of XC is equal to 77.46 ohms. Yes, this is the capacitive reactance of a given capacitor. Okay, look at the next problem here. It is given that a 12 ohm resistance and an inductance of 0.05 divided by pi Henry are connected in series. Okay, this is resistor inductor circuit. Yes, I have a resistor and I have an inductor connected to the AC source of voltage. Okay, and resistance is how much? 12 ohm they have given, and its inductance L is equal to 0.05 divided by pi Henry. Okay, and across ends of the circuit is connected 130 volt AC supply. Okay, so we have to consider Vrms is equal to how much? 130 volt, and the frequency is given to be 50 hertz. Okay, if the frequency is not given, assume the frequency to be equal to 50 hertz. Yes, calculate number 1 current in the circuit, then we have to calculate what is a phase difference between current and voltage. Okay, we have to calculate what is the current and we have to calculate what is the phase angle difference between voltage and current. Okay, then so here first to find the value of current, let me write the data given. R is equal to how much? 12 ohm they have given, and L is given. L is equal to 0.05 divided by pi. Okay, then Vrms is given to be 130 volt, and frequency they have given which is equal to 50 hertz. Yes, to find the value of current, first we have to find the value of impedance. We know current is equal to Irms is equal to what? Vrms divided by Z. Yes, but Z is equal to square root of R square plus XL minus XC whole square. We don't have capacitor, so simply I write it as XL square. Okay, and what is XL? XL is equal to omega into L. Omega is equal to what? 2 pi f into L. Okay, let us substitute the values of XL is equal to 2 pi into f is how much? 50, and what is the value of L? 0.05 divided by pi here. Okay, pi get cancelled here. This I get it as 100 into 0.05, that is 5 ohm. Okay, XL is equal to 5 ohm I get here. Then substitute this value of 5 here. I get the value of Z. Z is equal to square root of R is how much? 12 square I will get. XL is 5 square I will take here. So Z is equal to square root of 144 plus 25, that is 169. That is a perfect square. So the impedance of the circuit is equal to what? 13 ohms. Okay, impedance is equal to 13 ohms. And using this impedance value, we can find the value of Irms. That is Irms is equal to Vrms divided by Z. Vrms is 130 volt, so that is equal to 130 divided by 13. So Irms is equal to how much? 10 amperes. Okay, that is the value of RMS current. Okay, then to find the phase difference, let us consider the impedance triangle here. Here I have XL, XC is equal to 0 in this case. So this is the resistance, this is the impedance, this is phi here. Okay, using the impedance triangle, I can write tan phi is equal to what? Yes, opposite divided by adjacent, that is XL divided by R. Okay, XL is 5 and R is how much? The resistance is 12 ohm. Okay, so this I get it as 0.4167. Yes, and using the log table, I will get the value of phi is equal to 22.6 degrees. Yes, this is the phase angle difference between the resultant voltage and current through the given AC circuit. Okay, look at the next problem given here. It is given that a coil of inductance of 0.5 Henry and a resistance of 100 ohm. Okay, it is having the inductance as well as the resistance. It is connected to 200 volt and 50 hertz AC supply. Yes, and we are asked to find what is the maximum current in the coil and also the time lag between maximum voltage and maximum current. Okay, first we shall write down the data given. They have given L is equal to what? 0.5 Henry. Okay, it is also having the resistance that is equal to 100 ohm. Okay, and the supply voltage that we can take it as Vrms is equal to 200 volt, and the frequency of the source is how much? 50 hertz. Okay, so that is equal to 50 hertz here. Then we have to find the value of maximum current, so that is I0 we have to find out. Okay, then we have to find out what is the time lag between the maximum voltage and maximum current. Okay, so with the given data, to find the value of peak value of the current, first we have to find out the impedance of the circuit. Okay, so impedance is given by Z is equal to square root of R square plus XL square. We don't have capacitor, so we'll have only reactance because of the inductor. Okay, so XL we have to find out. So XL is equal to what? Omega into L. Omega is nothing but 2 pi f into L. So I can write XL is equal to 2 pi into 50 into L is given to be 0.5 Henry. So I get it as 50 pi ohm. Okay, so this is the value of inductive reactance. Yes, then by substituting the value here, I can write it as Z is equal to square root of R is nothing but 100 square, yes, plus of XL is 50 pi whole square, yes, and by simplifying this I get the value of Z is equal to 186.1 ohm. Okay, so that is the value of impedance of the coil. Okay, so then to find the value of peak value of current, I have I naught is equal to V naught divided by Z. Yes, but here whatever voltage they have given, that is the RMS value of the voltage. So that is equal to, so V naught is equal to V RMS into square root of 2 divided by Z. So by simplifying this, I get it as I naught is equal to V RMS is 200 into, I write 1.41 divided by Z is 186.1. Okay, and after simplifying this, I get the value of current is equal to 1.52 amperes. Okay, this is the peak value of the current through the coil here. Yes, so this part we have calculated, maximum current we have calculated. Next we have to find out the time lag between the maximum voltage and maximum current. Okay, the given coil can be considered as RL circuit. Okay, so RL circuit, in that the phase angle is given by tan phi is equal to XL divided by R. Okay, by substituting here, XL is equal to how much? That is equal to 50 pi, yes, divided by what is the value of resistance? That is equal to 100. Okay, so this I can write it as this is equal to pi divided by 2. Tan phi is equal to what? Tan phi is equal to pi by 2. Okay, so that is equal to 3.14 divided by 2. Tan phi is equal to 3.14 divided by 2, that is equal to 1.57. Okay, by using the log table, I can get the value of phi is equal to 57.5 degrees. Okay, it is equal to 57.5 degrees. In terms of radians, I can write it as 57.5 into pi divided by 180 radians. Yes, and to find the time lag between maximum voltage and current, we have the equation of current. In this case, I is equal to I naught of sine omega t minus of phi, where phi is the phase angle. Okay, and the equation of voltage is equal to V is equal to V naught of sine omega t. Okay, to find the time lag, equate this omega t to phi. So I can write omega t is equal to phi. Okay, so t is equal to phi divided by omega. Yes, so phi is phase angle in terms of radians, that is equal to 57.5 into pi divided by 180 whole divided by omega is equal to what? 2 pi f. Okay, that is equal to 2 into pi into 50. Okay, this pi get cancelled here. Yes, I will get it as 57.5 divided by 180 into 1 by 100 I will get. Okay, so this will give me the value of time t is equal to 0.00319 seconds. Okay, very short value of the small value of the current it is. This is the time lag between the maximum values of voltage and current. Okay, to get the time lag, equate this omega t to phi. Be careful, this phi has to be in terms of radians. Okay, so by simplifying this, this is the answer we are getting.